यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन यमुनातीरावनचार्यम् यमुनातीरावनचार्यम् जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। थोड़ा आगे करना। गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरावनचार्यम् जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे जयो जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय प्रभुपाद 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 जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 19th chapter, text 23. पांचवा स्कंद 19वां अध्याय 23वां श्लोक। आज एक्चुअली यहाँ पे क्लास NVCC में है पूना में, तो दोनों कॉम्बिनेशन होगा, आधा इंग्लिश आधा हिंदी, बिकॉज माय डियर फ्रेंड भक्ति बृहद भागवत महाराज वांट्स टू हियर, तो उनके लिए मैं थोड़ा हिंदी थोड़ा इंग्लिश कंबाइन करूँगा। वर्सेस दे कल्पा पांचवा स्कंद 19वां अध्याय 23वां श्लोक 5.19.23। कल्पायुषं स्थान जयत् पुनर्भवात् क्षणायुषं भारत भुजाय वरमा क्षणेन मर्तेन कृतं मनस्विना सन्न्यस्य संयाति अभयं पदें हरे कल्पायुषं स्थानजयात् पुनर्भवा क्षणायुषं भारत भुजायो वरम् क्षणेन मर्तेन कृतं मनस्विना सन्न्यस्य संयाति अभयं पदें हरे Kalpayusham, of those who have a duration of life of many millions of years, like Lord Brahma. Sthana Jayat, then achievement of the place or planetary systems. Puna Bhavat, which is liable to birth, death and old age. Chana Ayusham, of persons who have only 100 years of life. Bharata Bhujaya, a birth in the land of Bharatvarsh. Varam, more valuable. Chanena, for such a short life. Martena, by the body. Kritam, the work executed. Manasvina, those actually understanding the value of life. Sannyasya, surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna. Sanyanti, they achieve. Abhayam, where there is no anxiety. Padam, the abode. Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A short life in the land of Bharatvarsh is preferable to a life achieved in Brahma Loka for millions and billions of years. Because even if one is elevated to Brahma Loka, he must return to the cycle of birth and death. Although life in Bharatvarsh in a lower planetary system is very short, one who lives in Bharatvarsh can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection, even in this short life, by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. इसका हिंदी में अनुवाद भी पढ़ रहा हूँ. There's some devotees were. इसका हिंदी में अनुवाद है कि भारतवर्ष में अगर छोटी आयु भी मिले तो वो ज़्यादा अच्छा है, क्योंकि ब्रह्मलोक में लंबी आयु से ज़्यादा वो है. भारतवर्ष में व्यक्ति अपने आप को कृष्ण भावना की पूर्णता पे ले जा सकता है और वैकुंठ प्राप्त कर सकता है, जहाँ से वो लौट कर नहीं आता. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This is further confirmation of the statement given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bharat Bhumiti Haile Manushya Janma Jar, Janma Sarthak Kari Kar Parupkar. One who has taken birth in the land of Bharat Varsha, who has a full opportunity to study the direct instructions given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and thus finally decide what to do in this human form of life. One should certainly give up all other propositions and surrender to Krishna. Krishna will then immediately take charge and relieve one of the results of past sinful life. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo moksheshyami ma shuchaha. Therefore, one should take to Krishna consciousness as Krishna himself recommends. Manmanabhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namashkuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer me obeisances. This is very easy even for a child. Why not take this path? One should try to follow the instruction of Krishna exactly and thus become eligible to be promoted to the kingdom of God. Tyaktva deham punarjanma neti mameti svarjuna. One should go directly to Krishna and engage in his service. This is the best opportunity offered to the inhabitants of Bharatvarsh. One who is fit to return home back to Godhead is no longer liable to the results of karma, good or bad. Some sound in the background. Yeah, translation going on. Okay. So, already Hindi translation going on. अच्छा ओके. तो यहाँ पर चैतन्य महाप्रभु का वाक्य बताया गया, भारत भूमि ते हिले मनुष्य जन्म जार, जन्म सार्थक करी पर परोपकार. जिसका भारत में जन्म हुआ है वो अपना जीवन सफल कर सकता है परोपकार के द्वारा और कृष्ण की शिक्षाओं को पालन कर सकता है. व्यक्ति को सारे विचार त्याग करके कृष्ण की शरण में आना चाहिए. सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य और मन मना भव मद भक्तो. तो ये बहुत आसान है भक्ति करना, क्यों नहीं इसको पालन करें. हमें सीधे भगवत धाम जाना है. ये बेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी है वापस भगवान के धाम जाने की. शुड गो डायरेक्टली, नो ब्रेक जर्नीज, नो हॉपिंग फ्लाइट्स. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च. श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च. नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Seek the blessings of all assembled devotees, especially Maharaj. Sometimes the elder brother takes pleasure in listening to younger brother. Please feel free to correct me and guide me. Just because Maharaj, the disciple of Srila Giriraj Swami Maharaj, I just want to begin with 2 words of thanks to Srila Giriraj Swami Maharaj, who was one of my first Shiksha Gurus. When I came to ISKCON in the year 1976, 77 there was a Pandal program in Mumbai. That was in some very near Cross Maidan. There is a place called Azad Maidan. And I was always going to different temples. My mother was following Mahanubhav Pant, you know, in Maharashtra. मेरे mother Mahanubhav Pant में थे. And my father's sister was following Ramakrishna mission. And so there were 3-4 temples. I would do parikrama, yani kani chapapani. Sometimes this temple, that temple. And so one day, I also attended Chinmaya mission, Gita Agyan Yagya. They had classes for 18 days, you know, and every day one chapter. I attended the whole course very sincerely. At the end, I asked this question to one of the Swamijis there. He was the president that here it says, Man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. भगवान बोल रहे हैं मेरे में मन लगाओ, मेरी भक्ति करो, लेकिन आपके यहाँ तो कोई ऑल्टर ही नहीं है. You don't have any temple. So he could not answer. He said, just read carefully, read carefully. I was a little frustrated. And Mahanubhav Pant was nice in the sense that very pious, but they have no conception of Krishna with Srimati Radharani. And so then one day one gentleman in the temple, the Mahanubhav temple, he gave me this Back to Word magazine. I still remember that. Back to Word. It was 1976 around October time. And I remember because the same photograph was there. You know, this famous painting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Sango Pangashtra Parshad. तो वो वाला पेंटिंग था और वो मैगजीन देखा, अच्छा लगा. उसमें एड्रेस देखा. I saw the address. Hare Krishna land. It was called Gandhi Graham Road. Now it's called Hare Krishna Road. Bombay 400054. So मैं Santa Cruz East में रहता था. I was staying in Santa Cruz East and this was Santa Cruz West. Just 2-3 kilometers away. So I went looking and Radha Ras Bihari mercifully gave their first darshan. First deities in ISKCON. Radha Ras Bihari were in that tin shed. You must have read in detail about Srila Giriraj Maharaj's pastimes. So it was around 4 o'clock, 4:15, 4:30 darshan opened. And then at that time just Chaitanya Charitamrita set had just come. So just like we have in the temple here, I think here in some temples they have, the books are kept in the entrance. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita set. Some of the first book I saw was Chaitanya Charitamrita. In that time I had no attachment. Even now I'm trying to develop attachment. So आपके भाई मैसेज कर रहे हैं, ऑडिबल नहीं है तो उसको बोले तो स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ट्राई कर दें. श्रीधर प्रभु अगर आवाज़ नहीं आ रहा तो स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ट्राई करिए. यू कैन डू बाय स्क्रीन शेयरिंग NVCC में. हरि बोल, यू कैन हियर. इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू हियर यू कैन डू फ्रॉम YouTube लाइव. हरि बोल. श्रीधर प्रभु कैन यू हियर? अब फोन करके. So I started, I went, and one good thing which really attracted me was after darshan somebody took me for prasadam. सबको आदत होती है मंदिरों में जाते हैं तो एक हैंड प्रसाद मिलता है, ये थोड़ा हलवा या बहुत अच्छा रिलेशन हो तो एक पूड़ी बांध के मिलता है. But here full prasadam. At that time in the Jew temple we used to take prasadam on the terrace. You know those old tenants buildings were there. So one of those buildings in the terrace. Or interestingly, for prasadam, they would have 9 o'clock and 4 o'clock. You know? So prasadam along with rice dal, there was patata vada and samosas. So I thought this is a good temple. Prasadam yahan itna acha hai. Then I had no understanding of the philosophy. Dhire dhire, Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Srila Lokanath Maharaj, Srila Giriraj Maharaj, all the 3 sannyasis. Of course, Lokanath Maharaj was at that time in sannyas ashram. Giriraj Maharaj took sannyas later, and Gopal Krishna Maharaj took sannyas later, but practically they are sannyasis, dedicated. So Giriraj, Lokanath Maharaj gave me books, some Prabhupada's books. Whatever latest books would come, I would get one copy. And Srila Giriraj Maharaj encouraged me to chant. Actually, he was the first person who told me to chant 16 rounds. So I am eternally grateful to him. And the 77 March, वहाँ पे मैसेज आया कि Prabhupada is coming. Prabhupada is coming and there will be big pandal program. I think 1 week or 10 days in South Bangalore, South Bombay. So, like devotees were going. I didn't know who is Prabhupada, but chalo, सब जा रहे जैसे election rally में जाते हैं सब. Some devotees are going in car, some are going in trucks. Prabhupada is coming. So I went there and I had no idea. I just ignorant fool. Even now I am, but that time it was completely. So one thing good was very few young boys would come. उस समय ISKCON में सब छोटे लड़के बहुत कम आते थे, मतलब mostly middle class and middle age, old age. So they allowed me to come where all the devotees were there on the stage, where Prabhupada was there. And you know that famous painting, where a famous photo where Prabhupada giving lecture, and one sheikh or one Muslim gentleman is sitting on the stage, that black colored dress. That picture is, huh? Yeah. महाराज जी बता रहे हैं कि वो Saudi, right? Saudi, some Gulf country. कोई Gulf country के chief थे. वो Prabhupada के, he sat on the stage with Prabhupada. Yeah. So I was also there, but not, I was sitting below. So we were allowed to sit there during the lecture also. And we did parikrama. We did Guru Puja on stage actually, after Prabhupada came. And I do not, because I was too immature to understand. But one thing I could understand is that Prabhupada had that urgency. Prabhupada was old. Actually, out of the 7 days, I think Prabhupada gave lecture only 3 or 4 days. Once or twice Srila Giriraj Maharaj gave lecture, and once one other devotee gave lecture. So, one thing, as I often say, we may not understand what is happening when we associate with devotees, but the effect will manifest. हम भक्तों का संग करते हैं, पता नहीं चलता, लेकिन बाद में इसका प्रभाव पता चलेगा. I did not take to Krishna consciousness so seriously. I did not start chanting 16 rounds. I could understand only little bit that Prabhupada was saying that Bharat, similar topic, what is speaking today. Prabhupada theme of the lecture was this, that those who are born in India, they should take to Krishna consciousness seriously. Prabhupada भारतवासियों पे बहुत heavy होते थे कई बार. हमारे एक मित्र हैं, Mr. Chhabariya, Mr. Chhabariya, Phenolics company के. So Prabhupada would often tell him, he would complain that Indians are not offering their sons for full-time service. कि भारत कई बार बोलते थे कि 4 बेटे हैं, उसमें से एक बेटे को तो अर्पण कर दो, at least give one son. So Prabhupada was always little heavy on this point, that those who have taken birth in India, they should take to Krishna consciousness very seriously. So somehow or other I was attracted. And then one day I remember one more thing. Prabhupada, Srila Giriraj Maharaj was the president of ISKCON Juhu for many years. And Prabhupada once called him. I think Maharaj will be able to explain the pastime better with more detail. But I'm just telling what little bits I know. तो प्रभुपाद गिरिराज महाराज को बुलाया. एक दिन कीर्तन हो रहा था. प्रभुपाद का रूम जो है 5th floor पे, अभी भी है 5th floor. The balcony was, from the balcony you could see the temple down. The Radha Rasbehari temple was tin shed. Just जहाँ पे सीढ़ियाँ, वही बस temple था. One part temple for guests, for devotees. Other part was a kitchen, like this. Loknath Maharaj also, वो भी मुझे बहुत encourage करते थे. Loknath Maharaj would ask sometimes, Kitvi Tahir, in his style, which class are you studying? I said 10th, 10वीं. 10वीं पूर्ण कर आणि या बैलगाडी पार्टी मध्ये. He would say that you finished your 10th standard, then come and join the bullock cart party. But I was determined, the determination, the mode of passion, ignorance, and I was in the mode of ignorance. I had always in my life my ambition, I should become a good engineer. And Krishna fulfilled that desire. मेरा determination था, पहले थोड़ा माया में जाएंगे, बाद में बाहर आएंगे. So after that, Srila Prabhupada once called Giriraj Maharaj. He saw the one Kirtan party came. I think it was Radha Madhav Kirtan Mandali, you know, Bhuleshwar. And Prabhupada liked their Kirtan very much. वो कीर्तन प्रभुपाद को बहुत पसंद आया. प्रभुपाद called Srila Giriraj Maharaj and said, we should have Kirtan like this in our temple every day. हर रोज होना चाहिए. And Prabhupada actually told, please correct me if I am mistaken, but Prabhupada told that maybe we should invite these devotees to come and arrange accommodation for them. You know, they can stay. But that was not practical. And finally, Giriraj Maharaj had some discussion, and then he agreed for once a week or twice a week Kirtan. First, we can see that. Huh?
P.L. Sethi. He was in charge of the Kirtan Mandali. Came originally from Pakistan, it's construction.
Right.
So once a week.
Actually, I do not remember exact details, but first Prabhupada tried for every day. And then he came down. And then Prabhupada said, actually I wanted once a week only, but I started with this so that you would know. Like a bargaining process. And Prabhupada एक अच्छे businessman भी थे. हर एक चीज़ जानते थे. एक छोटी सी चीज़ भी, I think सत्संग महाराज बुक में nectar, you know, the nectar drops books, small books, used to have earlier. Prabhupada जब मायापुर में भी जाते, when he would go by रिक्शा से bargaining करते, उस समय 2 रुपये लगते थे, हुल्लर घाट जाने, 2 rupees, and they would say 3 rupees, 5 rupees. Prabhupada would start walking, and then the rickshaw would come behind. So Prabhupada always, he was very much, he did not like this Western conception of wasting money. Sometimes we think, ऐसा आ रहा है, भगवान दे रहे हैं. But Prabhupada was very, very careful not to waste a single paisa. And after Srila Prabhupada left, I was very fortunate. 1978, I finished my 10th standard. And Srila Giriraj Maharaj was spending most of his time there in Mumbai. So his room was on the 2nd floor, right? 2nd floor or 1st floor? Giriraj Maharaj's room. So, 1st floor. Yeah. So Maharaj would give classes many times in the evening also. You know, evening program would be there in his room. And I was very fortunate. बहुत कृपा दिखाई गिरिराज स्वामी महाराज ने मेरे ऊपर, इनकरेज किया. तो उस समय ऐसे अभी हम करते हैं ना, एक जगह बैठ के जब करना, उतना पैटर्न नहीं था. The devotee would walk and chant. And I would follow Giriraj Maharaj. Giriraj Maharaj would sometimes chant on the terrace of the, you know, in the 2 blocks, Chihu temple, there is in between terrace. And Maharaj would walk there, and I would walk behind him. So I would follow him like a dog. So because of his mercy, and the mercy of all Prabhupada disciples, I am still in Krishna consciousness, externally at least struggling. तो मैं उनके प्रति बहुत कृतज्ञ हूँ. और जब दीक्षा का समय आया, मैं कॉलेज में था, आई वॉज इन फर्स्ट ईयर इंजीनियरिंग, बनारस हिंदू यूनिवर्सिटी. सो जनरली दीक्षा is not given at young age. So I requested the leader that time, Srila Krishnananda Swami, to give initiation. He said, you must get letter from the president, Giriraj Maharaj. So I approached my Giriraj Maharaj के पास request किया. So he thought for a while, then he said, okay, in your case, okay. So it was his blessing that in October 1979, I got connected to the parampara. And even now, after that, because I left for America, and I could not meet Giriraj Maharaj for a long time. Then after that, I met after several years, almost more than a decade. 10 साल के बाद, still he remembers. And I have no common service as such, but he is very merciful to me. I am very grateful to him. And actually all of you are getting his mercy through Maharaj. Last 1 week, 10 days, showering mercy. Hare Krishna. So speaking about the verse today, it is a very, very wonderful verse. Short life in the land of Bharat Varsh is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions of years. लाखों साल भी अगर आयु हो ब्रह्मलोक में, उससे अच्छा भारत वर्ष में छोटी आयु. सर्वलक्षण प्रभु की तरह, dedicated to Prabhupada's book distribution. Small life. There's one verse in the Bhagavatam also which supports that. What is that verse? Tarvo kimna jivanti. The trees, they live for many, many long years. कैलिफोर्निया में ट्रीज हैं जो कि हजारों साल रहते हैं. अब प्रभुपाद बोलते हैं बोटेनिकल गार्डन कैलकटा ऑल्सो, देयर आर मेनी ट्रीज विच लिव फॉर थाउजेंड्स ऑफ ईयर्स. सो क्या फ़ायदा उतने साल जी के? बेटर वन मोमेंट ऑफ फुल कृष्ण कॉन्शियसनेस. सो दिस वर्स इज एक्चुअली एम्फोसाइजिंग द अर्जेंसी दैट हमें कृष्ण भावना को गंभीरता से लेना. Once Srila Jayapatak Swami Maharaj wrote a letter to Prabhupada that I am now preaching in Bengal, so I want your permission to study Bengali. I get a lot of free time. मेरे को बहुत सारा free time मिल रहा है, मैं बंगाली सीखना चाहता हूँ. So anybody knows what Prabhupada replied? Very famous answer, 1968. Prabhupada replied, it is a good idea. However, in my opinion, if you have more time, better to chant Hare Krishna more and more rather than study Bengali. Bengali सीखने के बजाय ज़्यादा अच्छा है कि आप chanting बहुत करो. अब प्रभुपाद आगे बोलते हैं, because we do not know when death will come and before death comes we have to attain perfection of life. हमें पता नहीं कितना समय बचा है और मृत्यु आने से पहले हमें शुद्ध भक्ति को प्राप्त करना. The same point is being emphasized in today's purport. Prabhupada's one quality which I really very much feel inspired is, he always had this sense of urgency. प्रभुपाद के अंदर हमेशा एक ऐसा था कि बस जल्दी कृष्ण भक्ति प्राप्त करनी. We have to attain perfection. Life is very short. We do not know how many moments we have. I was fortunate to get association of Sri Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj also. He was at that time GBC, just after Prabhupada left in Mumbai. And Srila Giriraj Maharaj and Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, very close associates. I think Srila Giriraj Maharaj took sannyas from Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. They are like Shiksha Gurus. So, Srila Tamal Krishna Maharaj, for many years, because I was studying, after I finished my graduation, मेरा graduation होने के बाद मैं अमेरिका में गया. So I was going to America for higher studies, for M.Tech. I got scholarship. So I showed the letter to Sridhar Maharaj. Sridhar Maharaj was temple president at that time. And Bhima Prabhu. And I was so happy. मैं खुशी दिखा रहा था मेरे को अमेरिका में एडमिशन मिला. And I was thinking they will be very happy. So Sridhar Maharaj said, no, don't go to America. America मत जाओ. आप वहाँ जाओगे तो गाय का मांस खाओगे, शराब पियोगे. You know, better you stay here in India. नहीं, this is very rare. Manushyanam sahasreshu. I didn't say that verse, but in my heart I was thinking, so rare to get admission. And now going to America is common, but in the 80s, when I went, it was not so common. And getting scholarship means I don't have to pay single paisa. Just only flight ticket. That also I got sponsored. So the arrangement, $5,000 per month, $5,000 per year was the tuition fee that was waived, plus additional $700 pocket money. So I was very happy because although I had met Prabhupada, I was chanting, but still I was initiated also. But फिर मैं सोचा था कि I should earn some money, financial obligation, family is middle class, थोड़ा श्री राम प्रभु की तरह था मैं भी, है ना, थोड़ा भक्ति, थोड़ा TCS, you know. He has started working for TCS, so all of you bless him that he can do his work nicely and quickly get freed from that. He wants to dedicate his life, but some obligations are there. So I also had some obligation. मेरे family duties थे, मेरे 4 sisters थे और no brother, तो अमेरिका जाके थोड़ा 10 साल जॉब करके फिर ब्रह्मचारी बाद में बनेंगे. Sridhar Maharaj said, no, nothing going. नहीं, I have to go. तो उन्होंने देखा मेरा determination इतना strong है, mode of ignorance. So he said, okay, you go, but you go to some place where there is a temple. Go to some college. I got scholarship from 5 universities. It's difficult to get even 1, 5. तो 5 college में admission मिला. तो उसने देखा, he saw the list and he said, you go to Houston, Texas, because there is a temple. तो ह्यूस्टन में टेम्पल था, बहुत छोटा टेम्पल, 11 रोजली, You have been to Houston, right? You see that big time. Now it's very big, Radha Neelamada. At that time there was no, this, abhi jo present building was actually a church before. So when I was there in America, that time the installations were done. So I am telling this story is my gratefulness to Sri Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So Sridhar Maharaj phoned up the temple, phone किया और बोला एक स्टूडेंट आ रहे हैं उसको रहने दो, allow him to stay and prasadam free of charge. Can you imagine America, boarding, lodging free? वो भी prasadam. And after making that call, he took 200 rupees from me for the phone call. Because he was in charge of fundraising. You know? So Juhu temple money should not go to it. So it's very jolly Swami would call him, you know. Sridhar, you must have had association with Sridhar Maharaj. Very humorous. And so, then I was telling this story for another reason. Sri Tamal Krishna Maharaj, 2002, after many years he came to India. You were there in Mayapur at that time. He came to Mayapur and he had come after several years and he had brought Chinese devotees. Tamal Krishna Maharaj ka itna credit tha. He was, I think, once, I don't know the exact story, Prabhupada once told him, you go and preach in China. Go to China. India से American slang होता है, जैसे बोले ना तू आप नरक में जाओ तो बोले go to China. Like China is considered, वैसे भी अमेरिका चाइना भाई भाई नहीं है. They are bitter enemies. So he went and started preaching. With great success. And this time in 2002, he brought many devotees from China. First time there was yatra. More than 100 devotees, Chinas. Our Tamal Krishna Maharaj was speaking and one devotee was translating in Chinese. I was not in the class, but I was overhearing outside, sun raha tha. So, Srila Gurudev's English was very clear. English तो बहुत clear था, लेकिन वो Chinese है ना, Chinese every sentence sounds the same. Every sentence is like choo 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 choo. Because it's same with all languages, you know, like Tamil, you know. So I could not understand. But one thing I could understand is, one thing was common. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And it actually, what you are seeing now, this Kirtan Mela, this idea originated from Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Because Tamal Krishna Maharaj ne idea shuru kiya. I would go with Srila Radhanath Maharaj would go for GBC meetings, and Govind Prabhu, Shyamanand Prabhu would go, and I would also go. I was no service, but I would just go, just to get association. The GBC meeting ke samay. At that time, Srila Gurudev started this system. He would have it in his room, you remember? In his room he would have kirtans, and he would invite God brothers and senior devotees. Kirtan shuru karte the. Uske baad hi idea hai ki Kirtan Mela. So we never knew. I always tell this story because I was there, and finally one day devotee told that he is leaving in the morning. Morning 8:30 flight tha. He had a flight from Calcutta airport. तो थोड़ा सा late निकले, left. I saw him just leaving around Mangal Aarti time, 4:30. And as I told you, मैंने बताया कि I was staying in Houston, which was under the guidance of Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So Gurudev was coming there. He was hardly, at that time his age was 34. And I think one of the youngest sannyasis in a movement. Took sannyas at the age of 21 or something. Right? 1971 he took sannyas. 74. I mean, less than 25 age. You know. So he was also doing course in Dallas, Texas, that university. So he would give me a lot of mercy. बहुत मेरे पे कृपा करते. क्योंकि कई लोग बोलते थे कि ये पढ़ाई करना अच्छा नहीं है, आप ब्रह्मचारी बनिए. But he was encouraging. But within 1 month, मैं जब टेम्पल में रहने लगा, within 1 month of staying in the temple, I got convinced that I should become brahmachari. The devotees were so loving, at the same time very sincere. Our Kalakanta Prabhu, he was the temple president at that time. Srila Gurudev, I am very grateful to him also, because उन्होंने encourage किया, and he allowed me to stay. Generally Indians जब अमेरिका में जाते हैं ना, तो accommodation प्रसाद का calculation करते हैं, है ना. एक बार bhojan liya $5, means 350 rupees. So we are very, and it's difficult to get prasad. That was Krishna's trick. Of course, I got prasad free for 1 or 2 years. But now I am working without pay for 30 years. So Krishna has tricked me also. Nothing comes for free. So Srila Gurudev's desire was there that there should be a big temple, Houston. Abhi jo temple mein rehta tha, it was a very small temple, 1111 Rosalie. Ground floor was temple room, first floor was brahmachari room, prasadam hall, everything, 3 in 1. There was no brahmachari ashram. There few brahmacharis were staying but not organized. तो फिर उनके साथ रहने से मेरा मन बदल गया. मैंने डिसाइड किया कि ब्रह्मचारी बनना है, फॉरगेट एमएस. द डिवोटीज बोले नहीं नहीं आप पूरा करिए, सिंस यू हैव गॉट एडमिशन व्हाई डोंट यू फिनिश. श्री गुरुदेव encouraged me. Once I went with him to Dallas, Texas. Dallas was the headquarters, still one of the most important places. Srila Gurudev's, Radha Kalachandji. And then Srila Tamal Krishna Swami decided to have this temple. It was actually a church, West 34th Street. और उन्होंने खरीदी किया. It's a low cost. And now it's one of the most beautiful temples in the United States. Radha Neelamadhav. Very beautiful deities. So that time we didn't know Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj 2000, I think 2002, March 2002. वो जा रहे थे फ्लाइट पकड़ने के लिए. And Krishna के प्लान से Shantipur was near Fulia, the place where Haridas Thakur was tested and he was beaten in 22 market. The car hit one tree and very, Krishna's plan, he departed. So I always remember this incident. मैं याद करता हूँ कैसे श्रील गुरुदेव चले गए अचानक, किसी को पता नहीं था. And he was not that old. He was probably 50 years age, or 52 maximum.
Yes, not like us.
So we do not know how much time we have. And Prabhupada is saying in today's purport very strongly. Prabhupada यहाँ बोल रहे हैं, one should go directly to Krishna and engage in his service.
हाँ, मोबाइल
The best opportunity offered to inhabitants of Bharatvarsh. भारतवर्ष से डायरेक्ट फ्लाइट्स जाते हैं. अगर आप स्वर्ग लोग जाओगे तो हॉपिंग फ्लाइट. Even somebody goes to heavenly planets, generally it's very difficult to go back to God because there is a lot of material enjoyment. From India, by India I mean not only India but the whole planet, Bharatvarsh, it is easier to go back to God. The heavenly planets, there are so many distractions. If you say in the heavenly planets are like a class, Dukkhalayam, Shashvatam, they will think he's a crazy person, he has come from Bharatvarsh, They will not appreciate this point so much. But here the miseries of this material world are a great blessing. Once His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was speaking a very nice point. He said that just like if you want to mold something, if you want to do, like Antardeep Prabhu also studied engineering. No? What was your branch, Prabhu? Electronics, yeah. I also did the same mistake. Electronics and communication, right? You see. So you studied digital electronics and wave patterns and so and also before we go to in the first year there is common, like I don't know whether in IIT Kharagpur they have, in BHU there's like blacksmithy workshop. You take an iron rod you put it in the fire, then you hammer it, how to shape. So this point was nicely illustrated by Srila Radhanath Maharaj. He was saying that material miseries is like fire. भौतिक दुख है अग्नि की तरह. And when we are going through those miseries, then we become moldable. And if we are going through the miseries of material world, दुख आ रहे हैं और ऊपर से hammering होते हैं sadhu's words, surrender to Krishna, then we are molded. We all need to be molded in Krishna consciousness. So surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada makes a nice point. Prabhupada यहाँ बोलते हैं, this is very easy even for a child. Actually Krishna Bhakti बहुत easy है बच्चे के लिए भी. But because of our conditioning and also because over the years sometimes we develop some, like Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj says, some crookedness comes in. Saralta ei to Vaishnava. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says simplicity is Vaishnavism. And simplicity is very rare. To maintain simplicity for
कितना टाइम है ऑफरिंग के लिए
lifetime,
और
very difficult.
टाइम कितना अभी
Myself, सरलता मेंटेन करना बहुत मुश्किल है. पहले मैं जब आया ISKCON में, सबके प्रति बहुत रिस्पेक्ट, वेरी एवरीबडी को पूरा दंडवत. आई रिमेंबर, जगत पुरुष प्रभु, जगत पुरुष प्रभु was Kala Kshetra in charge. Jagat Purush, he was helping me. Loknath Maharaj, Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Srila Giriraj. I was having respects to everybody. But फिर क्या होता है, gradually we start seeing faults in others. There may be faults also. We do not deny faults. तो सब में होते हैं. But by meditating on the faults, we degrade our own consciousness. So adosha darshi is a very important quality. We should try to cultivate, even if you don't have adosha darshi. Dosh nahi dekha. The best example is Krishna Leela, Putana. कृष्ण से बढ़कर कोई अदोष दर्शी नहीं होगा. कृष्ण is seeing good in Putana also. Putana is offering some devotional service in the eyes of Krishna. Even Putana's service is accepted. Putana is feeding Krishna milk with poison. आप में से कितने को अच्छा लगेगा दूध में अगर बादाम पिस्ता डाला जाए, फ्लेवर, मैंगो शेक प्लस 10 grams poison. Nobody would like it. You probably file a case, attempted murder, But Krishna is accepting that service. So we should also, two things we can think of. One is, whenever we see devotee rendering service, even with faults, we should understand at least he is rendering service. Very few are sincerely rendering service. And secondly, we should also have faith that our service will also be acceptable to Krishna. Krishna हमारी सेवा को भी स्वीकार करेंगे. Sometimes I think for myself, am I actually a devotee? Not even a pure devotee, but so many faults, कितने सारे दोष हैं. But still, that's Putana pastime. अहो बकीयम स्तन कालकूटम. पूतना भगवान को जहर देने के लिए आई, फिर भी कृष्ण ने उसको माता की गति दी. कम वा दयालु शरणम ब्रजेम. Who is more merciful? Whom shall we take shelter of? So time is very less. I really appreciate Maharaj. At last, I think you had 64 rounds program, just Ekadashi. I was hearing all the news from here. There's one thing I have followed from Srila Prabhupada and sincere devotees like Maharaj, arranging 64 rounds. My favorite. When I'm in Nigri, Pune, wherever I come once a month and have in a devotee's home. Like we begin after the morning program, so not to disturb. And then from 9 till 2 o'clock. So we may not be able to do 64, but at least 40. My dear friend Avtari Chaitanya Prabhu is one of the leaders. You are making notes, please write down. Avtari Chaitanya Prabhu, one of the great Vaishnavas. Prabhu is a source of inspiration. He is an engineer, very high post, but so humble. So it's actually, we should have this at least once or twice a month in every temple. Encourage devotees to come together to chant 64 rounds. May not be practical for everybody to do 64. They can join as per their convenience. And it's good that our temple management is also encouraging such exercises. Because ultimately all that matters is the holy name. All other things, without the holy name, everything is superficial and irrelevant. अगर हम भक्ति कर रहे हैं और हरि नाम में रुचि नहीं आ रही, तो वो खाली बाहर का दिखावा है. Because they have impressive speech, nice beautiful decoration in the temple, nice prasad, counselor system. These are all nice settings for the jewel of the holy name. The jewel is more important. If you go to some store like Tiffany's or so many jewelers in Pune, there is one whole market of jeweler shop. If you go to some shop, you will find that the jewels are kept very nicely in cases. Inside the case, there is another case, and there is soft. So these are good things. But if you open all these things and there is no diamond, then who will pay for it? So covering ज़्यादा important नहीं है, लेकिन अंदर क्या है वो important है. It's like if you have a nice box which is covered with paper, colored paper like birthday gifts, you open that box, then another paper, and suddenly you find inside there is nothing or some garbage. So what is the use? So the same way, all our externalities of devotional service, are very good decorations for the jewel of the holy name. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, he is quoting from one Shastra, Nahi nama sama punya, nahi nama sama karma. There is no pious activity compared to the holy name. Namaiva param mukti, namaiva param bhakti. The holy name is the supreme liberation, the supreme best form of bhakti. And Srila Jiva Goswami supports this. Jiva Goswami says that all other practices of devotional service should be preceded and succeeded by chanting the holy name. कुछ भी हम करते हैं भक्ति में, शुरुआत में हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम राम राम, and again end with the holy name. Holy name is everything. नाम बिना किछु नहीं कोई. Just think of this one sentence. एक वाक्य के बारे में सोचिए. think मेरा knowledge थोड़ा poor है, but Maharaj can help me. You know that verse, वेदे च रामायण चैव इतिहास पुराण च. किसी को मालूम है? Anybody knows that verse? The translation is that all the writings of the Vedas, the 108 Upanishads and Puranas are in these 2 syllables, Hari. है ना? सब 4 वेद, 108 पुराण, 108 उपनिषद, 18 पुराण, पूरा बीबीटी लाइब्रेरी, सब ये 2 अक्षर में आते हैं. What are those 2 syllables? Hari, 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 Hari. It is so simple yet so profound. That's why simplicity is the main qualification. Prabhupada says in the purport, even a child, it's very easy. Actually, chanting करने में करना क्या? What is the difficulty? You have to just sit down, everybody sitting down. Get a bead bag, we already have bead bag. Put your hand inside, very easy. Keep moving and move your lips. It's actually very easy. But because of conditioning, it seems difficult. कभी actually नाम जब बहुत आसान है, लेकिन लगता है मुश्किल हमारे अनर्थों के कारण. But this collective chanting which we practiced last, I think on Ekadashi, to Tuesday, on Ekadashi, it's collective chanting is very, very useful. Even because I have no service in ISKCON, my only service is morning lecture, evening lecture and chanting. Somehow I am blessed. Jayadvat Maharaj, I was asking Jayadvat Maharaj, just I said, Maharaj, you are also, you are not taking part in any management. Management में नहीं है, क्या कारण है? So Maharaj smiled and said, in my past life I planted a lot of trees and auspicious activity. so I don't have to do management. So I was acting, I was also president of Pune before Radheshyam Prabhu. For 2 years I was there. Sir Radhanath Maharaj told me, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj told me that. I told him not my nature, but the previous devotee Vrindavan Prabhu was leaving for America, so somebody was needed. Stopgap arrangements. He said, you do for 1 year, 2 years. So then after the meeting, after that I left and Radheshyam Prabhu took over and so nicely developed this temple. So just after the switch over, we were together in Vrindavan, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, Shyamanand Prabhu and Radheshyam Prabhu. And so Radheshyam Prabhu had to go for the meetings, which I was going earlier, President's meeting. Radheshyam Prabhu jana tha. So prasadam serving tha. So I thought now I will serve. I was serving Maharaj and Radheshyam Prabhu. Shyamanand Prabhu was telling Maharaj, Krishnananda Prabhu's good days are gone. Unke achhe din chale gaye. Maharaj smiled and says his bad karma is over. It depends on how you see things. But Revatipati Prabhu is just my very good friend. So I like him very much because he is also a lover of the holy name, you know. He likes the holy name. It's very good, I mean, what Maharaj has done this Ekadashi, every Ekadashi. And of course it's already done, but it can be promoted more and more. I think already we do it down in Bhaktivedanta Hall, every Ekadashi. And in addition, in counselors' meeting, you know, it is something which can be done on like for Grahastha devotees. Sometimes it is not practical on Ekadashi day, it's working days or Sundays. We should find reasons to just take shelter of the holy name, because there is nothing else in life. Everything else is just to fulfill the structure of the institute, to maintain the body and the financial resources. But the jewel is the holy name. Tribhuvan Prabhu is a yoga teacher. You teach yoga, right? So yoga, there is a lot of other exercises and everything. But the most important is the pranayama. Correct? Because the prana should be there. So, but if there is no pranayama, you can do asanas with a dead body. It will not work so much. So without the taking shelter of the holy name, the devotional service becomes very superficial. And it's very unfortunate that in most temples, not most temple, but many temples, it gets neglected for knowingly or unknowingly. Because it becomes like a formality. एक 16 माला हो गया, हाँ जपा हो गया, मंगल आरती हो गया. तो just वो enough नहीं है कि खाली 16 माला हो गया. 16 rounds Prabhupada says is for beginners. Just like when a child starts walking, then you encourage the child. प्रभु जी, हरि बोल, बैटरी चला. When a child starts walking, you encourage the child. Child walks from this door to next door, just 10 feet away. 10 feet bhi chal, then you clap. Very nice. But the child becomes 16 years old and can only walk that much, then nobody claps for that. We expect that he will do more. So 16 rounds is very nice, but we should, according to our capacity, increase more and more. And I asked this question to Srila Giriraj Maharaj once, when he was in Calcutta a few years back, how to develop taste for chanting. So Maharaj gave a very nice answer. He said, just go on chanting. Just by chanting. Like Prabhupada was asked this question, how to develop taste for chanting. Prabhupada said, drink, 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 and you become drunkard. Chant, 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 and you become good chanter. Somehow or other, back. किसी न किसी तरीके से नाम में रुचि जागृत कर. I will just conclude with one small but very important point from one lecture by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. We had a small yatra to Bangladesh. Most of you know this point. I am repeating for the pleasure of Maharaj. I have spoken it many times. We had a small yatra with His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj. His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj did a lot of service for Narottam Das Thakur's deities, Brajamohan in Vrindavan. So then he arranged a yatra to Kheturi. आप में से कोई लोग खेतुरी गए? आप बांग्लादेश गए कि नहीं? एक बार एक यात्रा होनी चाहिए बांग्लादेश for brahmacharis and grahasthas in a small group. Because Bangladesh has got many of our acharyas appeared in Bangladesh. Lord Chaitanya's mother and father, they appeared in Bangladesh. Jagannath Mishra Chachi Mata. Pundarik Vidyanidhi का जन्म स्थान है बांग्लादेश. Mukunda Datta and Vasudev Datta birthplaces same, na? I think it's called Chatigram. Narottam Das Thakur appeared in place called Kheturi. That is also in Bangladesh. Haridas Thakur appeared in Bangladesh. That place is called Budhan district. So we had one yatra, and Indradumna Maharaj, he invited, he said to Radhanath Maharaj, you can bring few brahmacharis. So few brahmacharis means Maharaj selected all the leaders like Radhesham Prabhu, Gaurang Prabhu, Sanat Kumar Prabhu, Shyamanand Prabhu and Radha Gopinath Prabhu and all the management committees. Somehow or other, I was also allowed. So we had a nice yatra. The first place we went was Benapol. The first स्थान जहाँ Benapol. और हम रात के समय पहुँचे. We reached middle of the night. So Maharaj smiled and said, it's good time to come because the prostitute came at this time. Has anybody been there to Benapol, Bangladesh? With the deity of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur ki murti and one deity of that prostitute. Full-size deity. And Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj was smiling and saying, this is one Mataji whom even sannyasis can offer prostrated obeisance. Because she started chanting 192 rounds. 3 days. Just see the power of association. Haridas Thakur के association से prostitute 192 rounds. हमारे क्या 6 महीने free प्रसाद के बाद 1 round शुरू होता है. Then Maharaj was asked this question, how to develop taste for holy name. it's a 45 minutes lecture, and the last 20 minutes, Maharaj says, two parts are there to get taste. Mahat Seva, Vaishnav ki seva karna. And second, Maharaj said one must beg for that mercy, plead for that mercy, cry for that mercy. Willing to do anything to get that taste. To get taste for holy name, one has to be in a state of transcendental madness. Divya prem, divya pagalpan. I want to attain love for Krishna at all cost. मैं जीवित रहूं या मरूं कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मुझे हरि नाम चाहिए. Like Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj would say, must cry for Krishna. Baba, this very assertive style. You know, unless you cry for Krishna, you cannot get understand. Yeah, you understand my language. He would speak in a very, very bold style. And he told actually that in Bhubaneswar, I opened a school. It's a crying school. हमने स्कूल खोला है रोना सिखाने के लिए. जनरली बच्चों को स्कूल भेजते हैं से रोना बंद करें, लेकिन यहाँ रोना सिखाने के लिए. So I will end with one line of Prabhupada. Prabhupada said we should chant in the mood like a child crying for mother. ना छोटा बच्चा जैसे माँ के लिए पुकारता है. The child is crying, the mother doesn't see what is the rag in which he is crying, what is the quality of the sound, bass is high or treble is high. You know, mother is seeing the emotions. बच्चा जब रोता है तो माँ भागते हुए आती है. ऐसे ही जब हम पुकारते हैं हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम राम. Even Prabhupada says one sincere holy name can attract Krishna's attention. एक sincerely. So we should pray, हमें प्रार्थना करनी चाहिए कि please before I leave my body I can chant one शुद्ध नाम. एक बार शुद्ध नाम ले, pure name, निरपराधे. And how to become free from offenses? Prabhupada says, just remember Gaur Nitai. Today I was reading Bhurijan Prabhu's book in the Japata. Bhurijan Prabhu is quoting, Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, as you are chanting the holy name, you should think that you are touching the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pratyek moti mein. So let us pray to Lord Chaitanya Nityananda. They can give us taste for the holy name and achieve perfection of life. Gaur Nitai से प्रार्थना करें, हमको नाम रुचि मिले और जीवन की पूर्णता मिले. Hare Krishna. I will request Maharaj to please speak something and first your comment. I think you can speak for 2-3 minutes, something, some correction or something adding to Giriraj Maharaj's
It's a little different from, because you're focused on the holy name. I don't want to change the subject. But I just say something like, according to the purport, I heard from several devotees that Srila Prabhupada said, even the demigods are queuing up to take birth in the Hare Krishna movement in Bharatavarsha. It's in line with that purport.
I will just translate for the group here. महाराज जी बता रहे हैं कि इवन देवता भी लाइन में खड़े हैं, वेटिंग लिस्ट है, वेट कर रहे हैं कि कब भारतवर्ष में जन्म लेंगे संकीर्तन आंदोलन में भाग लेने के लिए. सो ISKCON, यस, ISKCON में सेवा करने के लिए, है ना, रेवतीपति प्रभु के गाइडेंस में. Anybody has any comments? Yes, Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So like you are telling about like that later Prabhupada wrote to Jayapataka Maharaj that instead of learning Bengali, he can chant Hare Krishna. So I heard somewhere that Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said that in future devotees will learn Bengali to read
Chaitanya
Charitamrita directly. So
no, it's not that Prabhupada discouraged Bengali, but now Prabhupada translated into English, so it is not compulsory. At that time, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said there was no English translation available at that time. The first bona fide English translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita is by Srila Prabhupada. So, the point is that learning languages is not discouraged, but if you can chant more and more, that is more important. That is better. Just like, see, any service, every service is good, but for one who can actually chant all the time, that is the best service. It is something which not everybody can do. Actually, we should try this. only for two reasons we should give up chanting. If there is some service in the temple by the authorities, or if you just can't do it, then what can you do? You know? Because we can't chant. Even it's like I have no other service. I just give morning, evening, but still I cannot chant all the time. So I keep myself busy. I do some book distribution online, or I give some guidance, or I read some books. So chanting is the highest activity, but it doesn't mean that others should not be done. Just like if you do not read Prabhupada's books, how long will you be able to chant? If you don't take prasad, how long can you chant? So everything else is meant to support chanting. And why I say like this, why I'm emphasizing so much, is because, at least for myself, age is increasing, and I'm about to be 60. So how much can I expect? Generally 70 or 80 is very high, especially for a person like me who's traveling so much. That means 10 years more maximum. So the need is there. And if you are really sincere, Krishna will give you intelligence and ways and means by which you can do more chanting without neglecting other services. If you are told to do some service, that is the priority. Guru Agya, the authority representing Guru, that is the highest thing. But if there is free time, chant more. Actually, in the times earlier, the system was that devotees would walk, their hands would always be in the bead bag. What I learnt in the late 70s, 80s, somehow it has not been followed so much now. I am not saying devotees are not chanting. Obviously, some are chanting in the mind, some are chanting on clickers. But this practice, like we see Prabhupada, sometimes we see Prabhupada in his room after his lunch, his hand is in the bead bag. So that is a good practice. Of course, that is not like I was quoting one small child. He was attending my yatra. He was wearing a bead bag and he would just walk with the bead bag. So he would not chant. So I'm not saying that bead bag should just be externally there. You should put bead bag and put your hand also and move a little bit and move your tongue also. So that habit should be cultivated. Devtipati Prabhu has something to, I think it's already, you wanted to say something? Vajadham Prabhu? Yeah. Thank you very much. All of you bless me that I can practice what I say. Jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasi. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki, Jai Shri Harinam.